In here, but Gabe asked me to come down here and talk to you guys today. I'll tell you a little bit who I am. My name is Jason Mainard. I'm the owner of the Sandler here in St. Louis. We do sales and sales management training, business consulting, customer service, and hired assessment. So a lot of times companies come to us that are sales teams are not performing or they're not getting enough revenue, and we kind of help them through different ways of training or put the right people on the bus. Maybe sometimes they have the right people on the bus, but they don't have them in the right seats. And so a lot of times it's your organization in that. But one of the things that Gabe asked me to come and talk about today was we did a little bit of talking about prospecting. There are times we have our own business and we're running our business, we're thinking, well, I gotta get marketing. How much marketing are you gonna do? Marketing versus prospecting, hunting versus farming, or active versus type of prospecting. So the way we do it today is kind of open it up to a general discussion on the hunting versus farming. Because we all have a service or a company or a product. Nothing happens until somebody buys it. You can have a pretty sign on the wall in the prettiest office, but until somebody gives us money for what we're doing, we're not doing it. So that being said, what is your first thought that comes to mind when let's say hunting versus farming?
Hunting is one time and farming is repetitive.
Okay, that's a good one. Farming is one time and this is ongoing?
Yes.
Hunting is more kind of opportunity. You go in the forest and you meet the animal you hunt. You are not ready. You might plan, but you don't know exactly what will be the result.
You have to eat.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't know what you said. I'm going out to the forest. I got to find something. I got to eat. But we don't know what it's going to be.
Maybe that's part of it, is you've got to eat, you've got to go out there, you have a moose in mind, which might become a squirrel.
Hold on to that analogy. We're going to talk about that. Hold on to that analogy.
Moose versus squirrel, what do you think?
And hunting's more of like an instant, a faster gratification, or faster results versus farming, which can take some time to slowly grow and cultivate whether working.
I guess one's more aggressive and one's more passive. There's one farmer takes a while.
Which one would you think?
Well, hunting would be aggressive.
Be more than aggressive.
Have to be.
Who's definitely going to be passive. So the same thing goes with the marketing side of it. You're thinking marketing. Everybody says when we got into business, I got to market myself. I got to brand my company. I got to get marketing out. Well, even prospecting is sometimes marketing. If you're out there and you're talking, you're networking, you're at events like this, you're still doing some type of marketing. Now, this is what would you think? Where would networking fall?
Network, I would say, I would put it towards farming. It's a little both, but I would put networking more into farming.
I think done right is farming.
Okay.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Because hunting, the hunters who are out networking are going to bark all over.
Sure. That's true. And we'll talk about it. All right, over here.
Talking about barking.
Well, I'm going to talk about we'll circle that one for something I want to add to that part about networking and how there's a right and wrong way to do it. We'll go about that part. Yeah, there's the passive one, and so when we go on, we're saying we're marketing for our business. We have to think about how we're going to, what we're going to do it. We need an equal balance of both, because each is going to determine different types of results. One of them is if you spend your entire time hunting, you're probably going to work 80 hours. You might end up giving yourself a heart attack at a very early age. But where do we got to? But what kind of? The first thing we got to figure out the different activities we got to do when it comes to that part. The activities are we doing? Are they really helping us get to our goal? Are they hunting? Or are they farming on the part of it? One way to do this. I had some numbers in my head, and these are just round numbers. And the reason why I use these is because it adds up easily, and I'm not going to go back in this part. Let's say that we have a yearly goal for $468,000. I know it's a weird number, but I told you it ended up coming out right on that part. We have a yearly goal when it comes out. At the end of the year, we start January 1, December 31st, it's 2015, we want to be at $468,000 in revenue. Which per quarter is $117,000 per month. Is comes all the way down to a week at 9, 36,000, 9,000. This is a month. No, a week, quarter. We gotta break it down, so we know that we have to have 9,000, hypothetical. Everybody's different on the way that it is. Let's say that our average, on our product, our average sell, because we might offer different services, different products, different everything else, and it can range, but our average sell is $4,500. So it means we have that goal. We can sell 2 things a week, right? An average of $4,500 to reach $468,000. Following? But how do we do it? What would be some prospecting / marketing activities? Let's make a list of those. Advertising. Ad. What else? How do you done your business? You said 88, so they think it did, right?
Yeah, that's my downfall. It's with word of mouth.
So we would think referral. Referrals. If some of us are starting a business and we have to look at hiring salespeople, what do we want our salespeople to do? Cold calls? And when we think of cold calls, don't think of cold calls just on the phone. I mean, walking into a business is a walking into cold calls as well. I mean, that's determining the way to do it. You have referrals, networking, about social media. I mean, you put out there, people blog, people put their information out there. Sometimes, depending on your business or what you have, it will, maybe some people go to your website, you get business from your website there. Advertising, referrals, cold calling, so the slash under the walk-in. But people do emails. Like hide behind a computer. They just kind of go back.
Online or offline.
Right. One of these ways, some way or that way. So you got your plan. Want to do 468? I got some ideas of how I'm going to get there. But how many do we want from each one? How do we know which one works? Well, because everybody's product is different. Somebody's, depending on what you're offering, might be web and email and social media. People might be all over that. Your customer base is too. So let's add some. We figured out what we got to do. We got a goal, but now we got to think of how we're going to do it. So let's think in terms of conversations. You got to have a conversation to sell. Nothing to sell. Say you got to talk to somebody. And the little bit of experience that you might have, or long-term experience, or however it is your business, you know that if you have 5 conversations with 5 qualified people, you'll sell on people. Is that fair? I mean, just say round numbers. Sure. So if we have to sell 2 a week, how many conversations we have to have? 10. We have 10 conversations a week. That's really extreme. So then if you think you got your sales guy and you want him to sell 2 a week, and his primary focus, this guy's a machine, he loves making cold calls, he enjoys it. His primary focus is cold calling. Say that he has to do 50 dials to have 1 conversation. do 50 dials to have one conversation. See how much that could add up. If you're networking, and you're not choosing the right places to network at, maybe he goes out, maybe you go out and network and maybe you meet a couple qualified people, but you end up finding that the conversations you're getting out of here, maybe it takes 7 to sell because you're not really finding the qualified the right kind of people. Well, let's keep nice round numbers here. So,
conditions.
the what?
Confidence and the conditions. When you have a booth as exhibitor,
Oh, a booth, okay, right. Like, so, like,
what is the market?
you could put that separate here depending on like a trade show. You could say if you did trade shows, the trade shows is part of your business, you wanted to do that way. You'd say, I have to put a booth at this trade show and set 5 appointments while I'm there to get one conversation. Sit down. However you want to look at that. You know that it's going to take you 10 conversations to sell, make your minimum, with qualified people. And so maybe at networking, maybe you got to attend 2 networking events a week to get your conversations. Social media, maybe I'll get 1 from here, webinar, maybe there'll be 2 emails, whatever the number is and how you go through it. You have to figure out where is it all coming from. But the problem where a lot of us fail in a lot of companies is they put this plan together and they never look at it again. They don't know exactly what's working. So that's why I say we break it down. We break it down all the way down to a week, knowing that if I attend 2 networking events, I make 50 dials. I ask, this is a big one here, a lot of people have. I ask for 5 referrals every week. You got to put in that fee plan too. Say I got to ask for 5 referrals each week, whether it's somebody from networking, whether it's from emails or web. Maybe it takes 100 email blasts to send out to get 1 conversation. We're trying to get 10 conversations out of it for the week. You guys follow me with that? Make sense so far? What we always try to call this called a cookbook. Cookbook's full of recipes. Recipe gets you an end result. It says add a little bit of this amount of flour, this amount of egg, this amount of milk, this amount of sugar. If you had Aunt Betty's recipe for the best pumpkin pie, and you did everything the recipe said, and it came out and it tasted horrible, you're not going to make the same recipe again. So as you put together your cookbook, and you say, all right, I want to do this much advertising, I'm going to ask for this many referrals, I'm going to do this much as far in the way of social media, networking, cold calling, and all of that, then you got to measure it. Like, well, I've been doing this for 3 weeks, and I had about 4 conversations. And the 4 conversations I came from here. They're going to need to up my networking by a couple and get my calls in. Because you're not going to like Aunt Betty's pumpkin pie again. You have to follow the same recipe. So as you put together your cookbook, what can you put in there? What different ways you can do it? A lot of us get caught in, I won't even go to trade show. A lot of us get caught in that. I'm going to do the blogging, I'm going to do the email, I'm going to do the web. Where does that fall on the hunting versus farming?
That's the passive.
That's the passive. It's fine, but you're not going to be able to live on it.
But you can do that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You're right.
And you can't make a cold call at 3 o'clock in the morning. At least you better not. if you want to get a relationship.
It's a whole separate conversation, but there's a whole different topic on pay time versus no pay time. Because when we get into the thing, when we want to grow our business, when we want to do the thing, the most painful thing to do is prospecting. I love it. People love to sit back on the office. Well, I'm so busy. as they're moving papers from one side of the desk to the other, and they keep resending invoices and doing research on companies. Man, it was a busy day. But did I do any active prospecting? Did I do anything to push the business further to my goal?
Do you ever take that further and break down your cost of time associated with achieving that goal?
Thanks, Troy. I think you brought that up because that's a good point. Because a lot of times we'll get caught into this, or our coffees and our meetings and our lunches, and we like to do. Say it's a networking lunch. But is this actually somebody that's going to help us get to our goal, our end result? And how Troy's talking about is you have to think about how much your time is valuable, how valuable your time is. If you're running a business and you want to make $300,000, whether or not you're going to make that amount or not, you have to believe that your time is worth that much. Because if you don't, then you never will. But if you believe that you're worth $300,000 a year, you break that down into an hourly rate, and you just sit here and network with this guy that had no interest in trying to work together as a referral partner or provide your service. Because somebody, you brought it up earlier about, Kristen, about the network. I was thinking you brought it up. Hold that thought. But the whole networking thing about it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but talking about networking, be upfront and honest when you go out and networking. This is what I'm looking to accomplish. You know, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not necessarily here to buy anything. But you know what? You might know people that might want to buy one. I might know people like. It makes sense to take 15 minutes, grab some coffee, and share their notes. Your time is just as valuable as mine. I know. If people did that in networking, we wouldn't go out and have this conversation. But they always think that there's somebody's got an agenda, and I want to know what it is. Because if they're giving me a pitch, I'm not here to give a pitch. I want to help them with their business. I want to see if they can help me with mine. And referring people. If not, maybe they can refer me to somebody else who can refer me to somebody else. It's just trying to grow your circle of influence. Now, you talk about the. Does it kind of answer your question on that? Because I do that all the time. Think about windshield time spent. How much did it, if I was charging, how much would that cost?
I think it's just as important as what you're addressing, and that's why I brought it up, because I've been there myself, trying to determine, is this really worth my time? Some of these steps that we're taking to achieve my goal.
I think it's also constantly measurable. So what works one quarter, 1 year, will vary next year. As will a business. You may be dealing with Windows Winter, but maybe we're going to be going to solar and other things, but this has to take into account.
I have a different version of it.
Okay, good. That'll help you.
Got our idea. You're going to make a mixture of hunting and farming. You have your prospecting ideas. Some are passive, some more aggressively active way of doing it. You have your goal, you broke it down to how much you have to sell per week, per quarter, per month. But where's it going to come from? What size business is it going to come from?
What about retention? Is it also part of the marketing plan? I mean, how you keep your existing client in order that he will buy again?
There are, and that goes with some other businesses. Some businesses, because it's definitely easier to keep a client than find a new one. And some businesses focus 80% on client retention, 20% on new. And it depends on how aggressive you want to grow. Because if there's some businesses that have opportunity to sell within their current clients, they can grow revenue that way.
But will it be part of the marketing plan and one of these items?
Yeah, you could put it on here. So if you said that on your revenue side, if you said you wanted, out of the 468, you wanted 300 from existing, and that's going to come through however the marketing to your existing clients, customer service support, whatever else it is. And the other 168 for the year is going to come through these channels for new people. Or maybe you want to be $1 million business and the other half is going to come from existing clients. Good point. I didn't think about doing this, but you brought it up. It's a good point to look at, because the way I look at my business when I do it is, You know, when we go out hunting, rabbits are everywhere. There's the small ones. We look at rabbits as the smaller companies, the ones that, you know, they're plentiful. Think of a rabbit. It's easy to hunt. They're everywhere. You can break it down easily. But when you're out hunting for rabbits, you know, this might be the guy that, you know, they might not be the $4,500, but they might be a, you know, they might be $500, it might be $500. They might be a little bit of service, not that much. But you need a lot of rabbits to survive. Here, these are all, maybe they spend $2,000. But as you're out hunting for rabbits, you come across the deer. They're not quite as easy to hunt, but they're easy to bring down. It's a little bit bigger components. Bear goes on up. Maybe bear goes up to 10,000. It'll take a little bit longer, harder to find. And then you go all the way up to elephant. Maybe elephants, you get a good elephant, maybe they'll spend 20,000 with you. Who knows? But you have to segment your customers in some sort of way that way. Because if you don't, what we all want a whole bunch of elephants. They pay well, they're big and shiny. People love to say I'm working with an elephant. But you know what? Rabbits are always a lot more loyal. They'll stick around. They'll refer you business. One other way to look at this, when you're figuring out, those are squares. When you're figuring this out, these would be your, like it was diamond, circle, square. For every diamond, that's your biggest client. When you have a smaller business, it might be a $10,000 a year client. Some of the bigger companies might have $100,000 a year. That might be their diamond. For every diamond, you need 4 squares. That's your middle of the road. Business that's doing it. Maybe this is 100, maybe this is 50. And for every circle, you need 4 squares. So if you're to lose that elephant, you're to lose that big diamond client, you still have a big foundation of these squares. You're only losing about 10% of your business. What happens is we jump in, we get excited, we get a bunch of diamonds, we got $500,000 coming in revenue, we only got 3 squares and 2 circles, and we lose 2 diamonds. We just lost 60% of our income.
It's the Walmart curse. Everybody wants to have Walmart as a client,
But they drive it.
but if that's the only thing you have,
So as you look at your business plan, you're like, we might be in trouble because we have 3 diamonds. We have 3 elephants and 2 bears. I need to change my plan and go hunting for a lot more rabbits to give a foundation for my business in case something happens.
So you don't want all the rabbits, you want a good healthy mix.
You want a good foundation. You want a good foundation, and the rabbits don't have to hold it down. And that's all got to play into where you're going to find it. You know, where they hunt at, where you farm at. Just like farming, in business, everything's seasonal too.
Sorry, I have to go.
Oh, no worries. Questions? You might see anything looking at it this way, kind of put the business plan together.
I was on a webinar earlier this week, and a guy, MJ Durkin, he has doubling your contacts is his book. I just ordered it, but he talks about, you know, where you have the different categories there. He says you have to have 5 to survive, and you know, you can't just do one thing and expect that to work. You gotta, his approach is to have 5 to survive. That would be. But I had to figure out 2 more to do.
And so when we all got up and we all started January 1st saying where we wanted our business to be and what the revenue was. We want to do X amount of dollars in revenue, how we want to break it down. How we break it down, quarterly, monthly, weekly, our average sell, where's he going to come from? Just like, that's the easy part. Down and dirty is, it's not so easy. But you know what? Maybe there's a lot of elephants that hang out here, maybe there's a lot of rabbits that hang out there. You gotta mix it up. And as you set your goals, you gotta think that everything, and to Troy's point, is what I'm doing helping me get closer to my goal?
Is there any order that you would suggest to start with and spend the time with common consequence? Either, once I'm looking on this list, do I need to go spontaneously to all of them together, or let's try one after another in a kind of parallel one after the other, and not do the entire campaign with all these options? What would be your suggestion?
Well, if you're just starting out, you don't know. It's kind of like
Basically, you are saying you have to shoot to start with any one of them would be fine.
well, you have to think about who's your market, who's your client going to be, or who's going to give you money, where do they hang out? Are you selling to businesses, and in the business, are you going to sell to a CEO or a market CMO, or are you going to sell to HR? Where do I get that? Would that be on this part of it, emailing those people, networking, hanging out at associations with those, trade shows, those type of things? Because if your elephant's an HR director for Monsanto, and your rabbit's an HR generalist for $1 million company, they might hang out in the same spots. There's going to be a whole lot of these, and maybe one of those. But if you keep hanging out where the rabbits and the deer are, you'll stumble across this sometime. But as you put in your target and you build your plan, I always tell everybody, you got to have one of these on your radar. One or two on your radar. What would be your big, hairy, audacious goal for the year? Have it on your radar. And then go out and hang out with the deer and rabbits are, because you know what? They'll stumble across that.
I think it's more effective, email or a call, in person.
I always like to think, how many times can you touch a contact or prospect? So some people do as far as, they'll do all three. They'll do a letter, they'll do an email, and then do a call. And one of the effective things with the letter and email says, I will follow up with you on this day. They get it, and they know that you're going to be calling on Wednesday the 22nd. Or 21st, or whatever. So if you don't know, if you haven't tried anything, a lot of this is going to be identifying your target market, who you're going after. Where do they hang out? How do I get them?
I've got a couple light bulbs. Just talking about this went off in my mind, so I'll apply the things that go on in my life. As far as the hunting versus farming, I mean, is there a big distinction between? I mean, I could probably put that under either one of those. We're talking about farming.
Right. Your farming is really going to fall into your these, because it's not the aggressive type part of it. You're throwing something out there. You're throwing out there, and maybe they'll get back to you.
My light bulb, like I said, for 26 years, I don't have a website. I haven't even don't have my base of customers for 26 years. You write a letter to my referrals for 26 years. I probably have more.
Good luck.
It's just in the winter things.
But see, that'd be something too, that you had all those 26 years worth of past clients and referrals, reaching out to them would be more of a hunting, aggressive activity. Because you could probably get to grow your business in despite reaching out and asking. But sitting in the comfortable chair, 26 years behind you, they'll call you when they're ready. That's the farming part. Because they will give you business, and then your business will grow to a certain point. But you say, well, I want to take it from this point to the next one. Then that's where you got to do something different. Because you got where you're at, if you're good at what you're doing, you've been successful with it. But
sometimes it's not repeat business like mine. Once you buy a window, once you buy a window, you're basically done. And that's what the government asks a customer post to us. But yeah,
Unless it's broke,
yeah,
30 years.
but the $4,500 thing a week that comes from somebody buying a house on it, it's hard to get by a piece of glass or whatever. So
you have an idea of what your average sale, your average customer comes to. If you added up how many customers you need to get to whatever your yearly goal would be, and how many referrals you need to get a customer, or how much advertising we have to do. Because a lot of companies will spend a lot of time here in the advertising and marketing world, and dump a whole bunch of money, and then not necessarily know what the return was on it.
What is that?
We can do websites as well.
Just, you know, that's the whole reason I'm coming down here, because I need a website. Well, sooner or later, somebody's gonna ask me about websites.
So if you'd like to get a website.
I'm thinking farming, you know.